The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo. One of the reasons I kind of enjoy including this film is because a number of the films we've been talking about are kind of summer tentpole blockbuster VFX heavy films. Star Wars, Harry Potter, Game of Thrones, whatever. And those are obvious movies and vehicles for visual effects. But visual effects isn't just for superhero movies or, complete planetary destruction movies. They play a huge role in quote unquote serious movies or adult cinema or whatever the case, whatever you want to call it. And The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, nobody is ever, I think, going to look at this movie and say, love the visual effects in that film, because it's meant to be so completely invisible and subservient, of course, to the story. There isn't, somebody throwing a moon at somebody or something, right? Or fantastical kind of scenarios. A number of VFX studios completed work on this movie, including Blur. Blur was responsible for the title design. Method Studios for adding atmospheres, set extensions, matte paintings, and Digital Domain for CG head replacements, Range Rover crash, and atmospheric and invisible effects. Under the direction of VFX supervisor Eric Barba, Digital Domain addressed one of the movie's core action sequence. There's a spectacular car crash featuring a motorcycle riding Lisbeth, who's played by Rooney Mara. And they had to create a CG head for Mara to replace the helmeted stunt rider's head seamlessly throughout the sequence. And, replacing a stunt person's head with the actual actor or actress's head is actually more common than you think. There's a famous sequence in Jurassic Park, if you've seen the film, the very first one, where they're trying to escape the velociraptors at the end of the movie, and they're going up through the ceiling. And the little girl, the blonde girl, she falls through the floor. And of course, they had a stunt woman do that, falling through the floor as the velociraptor tries to eat her, and, that kind of a thing. But the problem is that the stunt actress actually accidentally looked up at the camera. And so the fact that she did that, now you recognize that's not our little girl in the movie, that's a stunt actress. So they had to go back and remove her face and put the little girl's face in there. And things like that are actually more common than you would think. Digital Domain also created a CG Range Rover for the sequence and crashed it in a fiery explosion, extending sets, removing and creating buildings, automizing, what they call changing the seasons of a shot, adding snow and ice. They shot the film and there wasn't nearly as much snow and ice as they would have liked. So a lot of snow in the air was added later in post, which can get very complicated, especially when you're dealing with a very, very large tree with 1 million branches and you're trying to put snow going through all the branches and stuff. There's a lot of rotoscope. But they wanted to make the Swedish winter even more frigid, all part of the 240 shots handled by Digital Domain teams in Venice and Florida. Take a look at this cool breakdown by the crews that made The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo.